If your mind has been operating in slow motion for the last few weeks, with confusing thoughts and difficult communication, prepare yourself for a drastic change of speed. Starting today, mental clarity returns, and with it, a strong impulse to act and decide. But this is the moment of greatest risk. Will you use this new acceleration to finally correct your course, or to simply repeat old mistakes faster than before? This Monday, August 11th, after 3 long weeks, the planet Mercury ends its retrograde motion. It stops in its apparent path in the sky and begins to move forward. For astrology, this is not a subtle event. It is one of the most significant turning points on the calendar, marking the end of a period of internal review and the beginning of a cycle of external progress. The slow motion you felt was real. The energy was, in fact, directed toward the past, forcing us to review, reevaluate, and reconsider. Now that energy changes direction 180 degrees, the focus leaves the past and turns aggressively toward the future. That is why we frame this moment not just as a relief, but as a brief and powerful course correction portal. The lessons and insights that you hopefully obtained during the period of confusion can now be transformed into conscious action. The clarity that returns is not the same as before. It comes with the wisdom that was forged in the fire of chaos. It is a golden opportunity to adjust the direction of your life based on what you have just learned about yourself, about your relationships, and about your plans. This video is your strategic guide for this exact moment. In the coming sections, we will first validate the lessons from the chaos you have just passed through. Next, we will analyze the window of opportunity that is opening and why acting quickly but consciously is crucial. And finally, we will give you 3 precision maneuvers to ensure that you use this acceleration to make a decisive course correction, which can positively impact the rest of your year. The green light is on. The track is clear. But before accelerating, a smart pilot checks the map. Let's check yours now. Before accelerating on a newly cleared road, a smart driver first reviews the data from the last race, especially if it was a turbulent one. In the last 3 weeks, the universe has subjected us to a forced and unsolicited audit. The purpose of Mercury retrograde, which now ends, is never to punish us with chaos, but rather to expose the flaws, the inefficiencies, and the inauthenticities in our personal and professional systems. It was a slow-motion stress test for our lives, designed to reveal exactly where our structures are weak. The objective of this chapter is not to relive the frustration, but to strategically extract the wisdom from it. Together, let us review the final report of this audit, so you can identify exactly what needs to be corrected now that the green light is on and acceleration is inevitable. The first and most audited area was, without a doubt, your communication and your relationships. Think about the misunderstandings that arose out of nowhere, the conversations that seemed to go in circles where, no matter how much you explained, the other person seemed to understand the opposite. The text messages and emails that were interpreted completely wrong, creating unnecessary drama. Mercury's audit ruthlessly exposed where our communication is lazy, imprecise, or dangerously based on assumptions. Where did you assume the other person understood your intention instead of asking and confirming? Where did you react to a specific sentence instead of pausing and asking, what did you really mean by that? Where did your words say one thing, but your energy and your body language said another? This period is also famous for bringing back people from the past. The audit here was a clear test. Have you integrated the lesson that this person or this dynamic came to teach you? If the same pattern of toxic communication was repeated, if the same triggers were activated. The audit has revealed that this relationship software still needs an upgrade before it can move forward. The second audited area was that of your plans, projects, and the technology that supports them. Think about the projects that stalled or moved backward, the deadlines that were missed because of small details that were forgotten or ignored, the contracts that needed to be revised 3, 4, 5 times, and of course, in technology, your computer crashing in the middle of an important task, your phone acting strangely, that crucial app that stopped working. It is tempting to call this bad luck, but the audit shows us the truth. Mercury retrograde rarely causes these problems. It just reveals the flaws that already existed and that we were ignoring. The project stalled because the initial planning, done in a hurry, was flawed. The computer crashed because you ignored the update or low memory warnings for months. The contract had an ambiguous clause that no one noticed on the first read. The audit exposed where you have been operating in a rush, with a lack of attention to detail, and with a blind, optimistic faith that everything will work out, without having a contingency plan. So, what is the executive summary, the conclusion of this cosmic audit's report? It is a simple but fundamental message that you need to take into the next phase of acceleration. Speed without precision leads to chaos. Optimism without a contingency plan leads to frustration. And communication without clarity leads to confusion. This wisdom, forged in the fire of your frustration from the past few weeks, is your most precious asset now. It is what will differentiate a conscious and successful acceleration from a high-speed car crash. Now that we have the audit report in hand, we can analyze the window of opportunity that is opening and why acting fast. But with this new integrated wisdom is the key to success. The most common and instinctive reaction to the end of Mercury retrograde is a collective sigh of relief, accompanied by the phrase, "Phew, now, everything goes back to normal." And here is the first secret that this dossier reveals. The first piece of strategic intelligence that differentiates you from the mass reaction. Normal no longer exists. And more importantly, going back to normal would be the biggest waste of all. Think about it logically. Your normal is precisely what led you to the problems, the communication failures, and the frustrations that the retrograde's audit exposed. Your normal way of communicating had flaws that you now know. Your normal method of project planning had blind spots that have now been illuminated. Going back to normal is like receiving a detailed diagnosis of a problem in your car, and instead of fixing it, simply going back to driving it the same way, hoping it won't break down again. It is ignoring the audit report and insisting on using software full of bugs. Mercury Direct is not a return. It is a slingshot. Imagine that the last 3 weeks of tension, of review, of pulling the string back, have accumulated an immense amount of potential energy. Now, at this exact point, that string is released. The energy that manifests is not that of a calm return to the previous state, but of a powerful launch forward. You will be propelled forward with a speed and, crucially, a clarity that you did not possess before the retrograde period began. Our analysis indicates that the most potent window of opportunity to use this slingshot energy for a deliberate course correction lasts approximately 72 hours, starting from the moment Mercury stations direct on Monday. Why is this period so critical? Because it is the only time when 3 essential factors are present simultaneously. First, the memory of the pain and frustration of what went wrong is still fresh and vivid in your mind, serving as a powerful motivator. Second, the mental clarity to understand why it went wrong and to visualize a new solution is at its absolute peak. And third, the energetic impulse to implement this new solution is at its maximum potency. After this 72-hour period, the memory of the frustration begins to fade. The relief transforms into complacency, and the risk of falling back into the old, comfortable patterns of behavior increases exponentially. That is why we call this moment the course correction portal. It is the cosmic pit stop. You have the telemetry data from the previous lap, the retrograde's lesson. The cosmic engineer has adjusted your car, the mental clarity, and you now have a single, brief opportunity to get back on the track and take the next turns in a different and more efficient way. And here is the truth that separates those who evolve from those who just repeat the same cycles. Most people, the collective mass, will only feel the relief. They will feel the handbrake release and will slam their foot on the accelerator without looking at the map, without remembering the dangerous curves of the last lap, without making any adjustments to the car. They will go back to sending hasty emails, to making assumptions in their conversations, to starting projects without careful planning. They will not be correcting their course. They will just be accelerating in the same wrong direction as before, only with more speed and apparent clarity, which makes the mistake even more dangerous. The result of this is mathematically predictable. They are, at this exact moment of relief, planting the seeds for the exact same problems they will harvest in the next Mercury retrograde cycle a few months from now. It is the cycle of repetition, the prison of a lack of awareness, the illusion of progress that is, in fact, just movement in circles. But you, who have the audit report in hand, who now understand the mechanics of the slingshot and the urgency of the 72-hour window, have a different choice. You can use this moment not just to celebrate the relief, but to make a decisive maneuver. A small and intelligent course correction, now made with the clarity of this portal, can drastically change your destiny in the coming months and years. It is the difference between adjusting a ship's rudder by a single degree, which seems like a minimal effort now, but which will lead you to a completely different continent at the end of the journey. The window of opportunity is brief and the energy is potent. To ignore it is to choose repetition. To use it with wisdom is to choose mastery. The question now is, what exactly are the maneuvers that a conscious driver executes at this critical moment? That is what we will detail next. We are inside the 72-hour window. The portal of clarity is open. The engine of the cosmic slingshot has been triggered. A reactive driver, at this moment, simply slams their foot on the accelerator, intoxicated by the feeling of speed, without a clear direction. A conscious pilot, however, knows that acceleration without control is the formula for disaster. They execute precise maneuvers. What follows are 3 high-precision maneuvers to ensure that your acceleration is a true course correction and not just a faster movement in the wrong direction. Do not try to do everything at once. The secret to speed, paradoxically, is focus. The proposal is to execute a single powerful maneuver in each of the key areas audited by Mercury in the last few weeks: your inner wisdom, your external communication, and your action in the world. Maneuver 1, the final logbook review. The first maneuver is not forward, but one last quick look in the rearview mirror before accelerating. The chaos of the last 3 weeks, as we discussed, was not in vain. It contained an immense amount of data about the flaws in your systems. To ignore this data now would be a fatal strategic error. We need to extract the main lesson, the gold from the confusion. Your task is as follows: take a notebook and set aside 15 minutes without distractions, and then answer this single powerful diagnostic question. What was the one frustration that repeated the most in the last 3 weeks? Don't make a list of all the small problems. Look for the pattern, the root, the recurring theme. Was it the frustration of not being understood in your conversations? Was it the frustration of having your plans sabotaged by small details that were forgotten? Was it the frustration of having to deal again with a problem or person from the past that you thought was already resolved? Once you identify this root frustration, ask yourself the second question. What is the one clear lesson that this repeated frustration is teaching me? For example, the answer might be, the lesson is that I need to be much more explicit and detailed in my requests and emails. Or, the lesson is that I need to check the details twice before acting, instead of just trusting my optimism. Or perhaps, the lesson is that I need to create a clear and definitive boundary with this person from my past, instead of leaving the door ajar. Write this lesson in a single, clear, and affirmative sentence. This sentence is your new navigation guideline. It is the main software correction you needed to make. Keep it. It will be your guide for the next maneuvers. Maneuver 2. The clarity conversation. With your internal lesson now defined and crystal clear, the second maneuver is the external. It is about applying this new clarity to resolve a single but crucial communication knot that the retrograde period caused or exposed in your relationships. The energy is now perfect for this. Think of the most important conversation that was postponed, that ended in confusion, or that you simply avoided having in recent weeks for fear of conflict or misunderstanding. Now, armed with the clarity of Mercury direct and the wisdom of your main lesson, you are more prepared than ever to resolve it. The maneuver is schedule and have this crucial conversation in the next 72 hours. The objective here is not to have the last word. It is not to prove you were right. It is not to win an argument. The objective is one thing only: mutual clarity. Use your lesson as a guide. If your lesson was about being more explicit, start the conversation by saying, I feel I wasn't clear about my expectations in our last conversation, and I would like to try again. May I? If the lesson was about not making assumptions, start with, I may be misinterpreting the situation, so I would like to ask directly what you meant by. This maneuver uses the energy of Mercury, direct for its highest purpose, to heal and align communication. Resolving this single knot will release an immense amount of mental and emotional energy that was trapped, leaving the track even clearer for your acceleration. Maneuver 3, the accelerated launch. Finally, with the internal wisdom integrated and the external communication aligned, the last maneuver is that of concrete action in the world. It is time to use the slingshot's momentum to put something real and important in motion. Identify an important project, decision, or purchase that was on pause, under review, or in doubt during the retrograde. That project you were about to launch, that contract you were about to sign, that investment you were almost making, that trip you were about to book. With the clarity you have now, do one last check. Was the lesson you learned in Maneuver 1 applied to this plan? Has Maneuver 2 cleared the necessary relational path for it to move forward? If the answer to both questions is yes, then the instruction is simple. Press the button. Give the green light. Send the launch email. Sign the document. Make the transfer. Trust the clarity of the moment. This final act is your declaration to the universe that you are not just a student of chaos, but a conscious pilot. You have reviewed, learned, corrected, and now, with full consciousness and intention, you accelerate. You are officially on your new and corrected course. And so, the maneuvers have been executed. The portal of clarity has been crossed. The cosmic handbrake has been released, But this time, you did not accelerate blindly into the unknown. You paused, reviewed the logbook, calibrated your communication, and only then, with intention and precision, did you step on the accelerator. Feel the difference in your energy now. It is not the anxious acceleration of impulsivity, which comes with a dose of fear. It is the calm and potent acceleration of intention. It is the feeling of power that comes not from moving fast, but from knowing exactly where you are going. The frustration of the last 3 weeks was not in vain. It has been transformed into wisdom, and that wisdom now transforms into directed movement. It is crucial to understand the true power of what you have just done. The course correction that this portal has offered you does not simply mean returning to the road you were on before the retrograde period. That would be a waste of the entire audit, of the entire lesson. The true course correction means using what you learned in the chaos to choose a better, more aligned, more authentic path. Perhaps the audit showed you that the road you were on, although it seemed correct and safe, was leading you to a destination your soul no longer desired. The true gift of Mercury retrograde is not the pause, it is the opportunity to recalculate. You are not just back in the game, you are playing a better game, with clearer rules and with more power over your own moves. You didn't just fix the car, you upgraded the engine and updated the GPS. Now, it is as if the horizon has expanded before you. Roads that once seemed invisible are now clearly drawn. The right people begin to appear, the right conversations open up, and time seems to work in your favor. It is not luck, it is alignment. It is the sum of every conscious choice you have made in the last few days. It is the living proof that when mind and action move on the same frequency, the universe doesn't just open doors. It removes entire walls. This new route is not fragile. It was forged in tension and polished by patience. It is the road where every step, every decision is an act of sovereignty. The clarity you have now is your new normal. The ability to communicate with precision and to act with intention is your new default skill. The 72-hour portal closes, but the corrected course remains, extending out before you. If this conscious pilot's manual was the tool you needed to transform confusion into clarity and blockage into acceleration, anchor this victory. Like this video, share it with someone you know who needs a clear direction and declare the result of your maneuver in the comments. My course is corrected. And don't forget to subscribe so we can continue to navigate together, always with the map in hand, ready for the next journey.